So today, Ted and I went to an event. It was an incredible event. We had so much fun. And when the event ended, they passed out these gifts, and it was these buttons. And I grabbed one, and Mai said, "Melanin Scientific Proof of God." I felt like this was a sign from God. You guys, for those of you who have followed our journey on this channel as long as you have, you know my experience growing up with bullying. I was bullied because of the color of my skin. Most of the kids I went to school with were lighter skin and was brighter than me. And as a result, they bullied me because they didn't understand why my skin was the way it was. Literally, every single day I went to school, I would cry. I would ask God why He made my skin the way He did. All the way through my teenage years, I hated my skin. At one point, I remember I tried to even bleach my skin. I was like, whatever I need to do, whatever I need to find to change the color of my skin, I will, because I do not like how I look. I do not like how my skin makes me feel. I do not like the burden that comes with my skin color. And it was one of the worst experiences growing up. And as a result, I missed out on a lot of things growing up. Every time there was like a party and they would send an invitation, I was like, I don't want to go because after I get there, the kids will make fun of my skin. I just don't want to be the center of any attention. So that went on and on. And experiencing that for children was not the only thing I had to go through. I also had to deal with that from adults. Adults that were supposed to care for me, adults that were supposed to protect me. When I remember one time I came home from school and I had brought in my picture. It was like picture day at school, and I brought my picture at home and I handed my picture to one of my aunties, and she took my picture. She said, "Why do you have to be so dark?" And she took my picture and she's like, "It's so ugly," and she put it in the trash. Just imagine as a child how that will make you feel. So for the longest time, I just didn't like who I was. It was only the grace of God that kept me, that prevented me from going into self-harm. Because when you live a life where you are constantly told you are not beautiful, when you are constantly told you are not good enough, it really, really hurt. And that was my experience growing up all the way into my teenage years. It was not an easy experience. And so when I got this button today, something within me triggered, and I was like, man, God is telling me something. Even though I'm in a space in my life where, girl, this melanin is popping and I've come to accept who I am. I love myself more than anything. I've grown so much, but it took a lot of time. It took a lot of teaching. It took a lot of breaking down. It took a lot of rebuilding. It took a lot of self-acceptance, and it all came. My love for myself all began at the beginning of my relationship with God. I strongly believe that when I gave my life to Christ is when I started loving myself, because He began to strip away anything that was negative about my experiences or whatever I was feeling within myself. It was just the worst things possible. And so this button saying Melanin Scientific Proof of God, like the person thought they just handed me something, like you went to a party and after the party they give you party favors. Okay, take it and go home. But they didn't know they were speaking into my life with this. Like, I am so grateful to God for the self-love that I have come to adopt within myself. I am grateful for the love that Ted gives me. Every single day He tells me I'm beautiful. I remember when I left Ghana and I moved to the United States, and even school here was terrible. Oh my goodness.
For the same reason?
For the same reasons. You know, in Africa, I knew I was darker because the kids would poke fun. They'd be like, "Oh, charbon." Charbon in French means charcoal. Like, that's how they would call me. And it was the worst name they could ever call a child. Like, literally, I'm not even going to bother even sharing any tear over this, because we've grown and we are in an era of self-love and self-appreciation. But we don't look to the past to cry. We look to the past to appreciate how far we have come. But I remember when I moved to the United States, I was like, okay, the bullying is gonna stop. I'm in America. There's a new Vero. No one can tell me nothing. Let me tell you, I get into this high school and the kids are worse than the kids in Africa. Literally, I was bullied to the T.
Like white kids or more black kids?
It was mainly like, oh, should we go there? I don't know if we should go there. But let me just say, like, it was just mainly the kids in the school. That's what I would say. I received a lot of bullying with the kids in the school, some of the kids in the school. And it was kind of weird to me because a lot of them were also my race, But like I said, my shade of dark was darker than most of them. And they also didn't understand why I had to be dark. And
Right.
so they poked fun as well. But they didn't even know the journey that I took to come here. Me thinking that I finally escaped bullying and I moved into a different place and the bullying is worse than it ever was.
Is that what you heard about America? Was that everyone was accepting and there was no racism anymore? Or
Yeah,
did you just kind of
that's what
assume?
I assumed, but I also heard that America was great, that I was great. Everything was going to be different for me when I was coming here. Because when I came
Right.
here, I was young. And so
Land flowing with milk and honey.
honey, exactly. So when I came here, I was young and I was excited, you know. And so when the bullying also started in school, I remember one time I went home and I went to my host parents and I was just bawling my eyes out. And I was crying because I was like, man, how do I escape? Is there no place for me to go where I'll feel accepted? Is there no place where I'll feel loved? You know, and at that time, no one even talked of therapy or anything, but I'm sure I needed therapy to love myself, to be taught how to love myself at least. But no one gave me that. And so I was going through every single one of these experiences by myself. Like it was the worst experience growing up. I loved some of the friends I had, but like I said, the bullying overshadowed every single aspect of my life. And for the longest time, I felt like I was in this hole and I couldn't come out of it. Like I literally hated being alive because of that. We have to be honest. I hated being alive. Every single day I'll pray. I'm like, God, either take me or change the color of my skin. Like I would sleep praying that when I woke up in the morning, I'll be a different color. It was crazy. I would wake up and I'll run into the mirror. I would see that my color was the same. And I didn't like it. I was so unhappy every single time.
Yeah.
And so when I came here and the bullying persisted, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to be bleaching my skin. I don't care what anyone says. I'll go into this store. I asked the lady, how long would this take to change my skin? You know, she was like, it depends. If you use it consistently, then your skin will change. I was like, okay, hook me up. So I get the creams. I pay like $50 for everything I got. I got the cheap stuff, okay? So I go home and I start using this stuff on my skin. One of my friends saved me, okay? So I get this cream, I come home and I start using it, okay? 1 week, I start seeing the change. I'm like, okay, good. There is a transformation. But I was young, okay? So the change I was seeing, my mind didn't really like connect the two at once. But I'm hanging out with my friend and I'm in the car with her and I see that she's looking at me, but I'm not sure what she's looking at. She keeps staring. And finally, I'm like, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at me so much? She said, Veronica, are you bleaching? I was like, oh, why would you say it like that? No, I'm not. You know, I was so embarrassed. I was like, no, I'm not. She said, Veronica, I know what you've been through. I know it hurts, but please stop. Like she was so gentle with it, but at the same time too, she was harsh with it. Like she told me how it was. And once she said that, I sat down. I remember sitting back in her car for a minute. I looked at myself in that mirror up there because I had the mirror up when she started talking to me. And I said, what am I doing? Why am I letting people define who I am? And I said to myself, I said, I'm a Christian, right? And I love God. God loves me. And look at all these beautiful things he says about me in the scripture. Look at what all these beautiful things he says to me when I pray. Why am I trying to be something that I'm not? Let me tell you, right there, an experience and deliverance can happen in a moment, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
Right there in that car, I had an epiphany. Instantly, I was like, no more. I was like, I'm done. I said, if anyone ever speaks on my color, I am going to lift my head high. I am going to walk tall. I am going to be so proud of who I am. I am going to dress nice. I'm going to make sure my skin has all the necessary lotion. I'm going to be popping. I'm going to look nice. I am accepting who I am. I got home that day and I took all the products and I threw them all out. And I was like, I'm not going to be using anything anymore. I love myself and nothing is going to change that. Then let me tell you, a few years goes by and I'm watching TV and I see this young woman at a premiere of a movie and her name was Lupita Nyong'o and she was nominated for an Oscar. That is why representation matters so much. Lupita was nominated for an Oscar and I see her skin. She has the same skin color like me. She had a haircut and she was rocking it and I had a haircut and I was rocking it and I look at Lupita and I look at myself. I'm like, OMG, I might not have a Harvard degree, but Representation matters, and I belong on that carpet. I belong on the screen. I can do what she's doing, and I was so happy from that moment. I was just thanking God, and I was just so grateful for this opportunity through this woman on that TV, because it changed so much for me. It changed the narrative for me. It changed the way I saw myself in a lot of ways. At that time, I was in the process of being freed from self-hate, and so when Lupita came on the screen, a lot of that self-hate for me started vanishing and disappearing. I've never met this woman. I don't even know her from anywhere, but yet she's had such a profound impact on my life because she used herself as a representation for others. Then I read her story, and she also went through bullying. I'm like, oh my goodness. All this time, I thought I was the only one experiencing this hurt and this pain. She was also going through it. And I'm sure there are a lot of women like myself who have also gone through what I went through. And when I started thinking about that, I'm like, what if I became a voice to the people that cannot speak for themselves? What if I am a voice to those who hate themselves? What if I'm able to have an impact in their life? And that is when I started mentoring. I started getting together with young women. I'm like, you can be great. You are this, you are that, you know? And I started speaking life into people. Let me tell you, I think I love myself even more than anyone has ever loved me.
Well, I don't know about that. You've got a competitor here.
I do have a competitor, which is great by the grace of God, but you've shown me that I am beautiful, I am enough, and I'm celebrated, I'm appreciated. And whatever anyone thought or said of me did not really matter. You've shown me that. But I have also come to a place, I think God has placed this within me, where I love myself to the point where I wake up in the morning and I go look at myself in the mirror first. You might be like, someone might look at it and be like, are you kidding me? Why is she always taking pictures of herself? Why is she always looking in the mirror? Because I came from a time where I didn't even dare looking at myself in the mirror. I didn't even dare take a picture of myself. I wouldn't look at it because of every single thing that I went through. But now I'm at a place where I feel loved. I am loved. I love myself. I am appreciated. I'm so glad I came to that healing point in my life before I gave birth to my daughter. Because I want her to have a level of confidence that she's never had in her life. And I strongly believe that because of how I feel about myself, I've been able to give her that. And you look at her, she's so young, but yet she's so confident and so strong and so bold. And I love every aspect of it. And I strongly believe that it's all because of my experiences. My experiences gave her the opportunity to grow in love and not in hate. It's funny because I looked at the second button that I had gotten, but I didn't really think about it. But what it says on this button right here, it summarizes everything I've talked about today. It says, who taught you to hate yourself? Malcolm S. Like literally, this is the best quote. Like, who taught us to hate ourselves? Like, what right did they have to teach us to hate ourselves? The audacity, like literally, who taught us to hate ourselves? So I hope that this quote stays with you. Who taught you to hate yourself? Whatever that you are dealing with, whatever that you are going through, the self-hate, stop it today. It doesn't amount to anything. You are enough just the way you are. You are perfect and wonderfully made in the image of God. So stop with the self-hate. Go out there, spread love, and let people see the light in you so that they too can believe in themselves. Thank you all so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.